part, but I do want you guys to kind of think about how water is important to you. And yeah, we're going to have another discussion at the end of this, but I do want to share what I learned so far about water walks. I'm going to say really quickly that as a youth water leader, we're kind of encouraged to have a youth service project, which kind of just like engages the community and just try to teach what we kind of learned about like healthy biodiversities and ecosystems. Mine, as an Indigenous woman, I really wanted to talk about water walks. It's something that I was really passionate about. And yeah, so we painted pails in February, on February 23rd. And it was at Color Be Mind, which is where I work. Unfortunately, art's not as considered essential right now, but I get to use my time now to study something I'm really passionate about. And I really hope that I inspire other youth to kind of put themselves out there. And like, this is my first webinar, but I'm a Pike Clan, so we're gonna go with the flow and let's do this. You can go to the next slide, Gab. Okay, so I'm gonna say really quickly, I have not been to a water walk. I was hoping to plan one for World Water Day before all this went down, but I'm still excited I get to still spread the message in some extent. So a water walk is basically an Indigenous-led ceremonial walk to pray for the water. Every step is taken in prayer and gratitude for the water. It's seen as our life-giving force. It's not a protest as we walk for the water to heal and all of life. I'm just going to say really quickly, when we're studying our language in Anishinaabe, we kind of look at it, well, you know, like how French there's feminine and masculine? Well, we don't do that. We have inanimate and animate. So we do believe water is alive. It is our life-giving force. It has a spirit. So I would say, if anything out of all this, I would say that Indigenous people really try to show people that it's not a resource, it's more of a sacred entity, and it should be treated as such. The artwork is by Christy Belcourt. Please follow her. She's an amazing artist and community leader in the Indigenous community anyways. But yeah, water walk is just promotes building a good relationship and a lifestyle of caring for it. So I'm gonna dive into the history of water walks. Basically, excuse my slang, the OG water walker, Josephine Madaman, kind of my role model inspiration. I have her book, and so does Josh. I wanted to just read it to you guys for an hour, but I made this slide in February, so I might as well utilize it. So let's see how my pronunciation is. Josephine Madaman, Vidasakabe. How's that? Vidasakabe, that's her traditional name. It means the one who comes with the light. Now, she is from me and Josh's hometown, Wikwemikong, an unceded reserve on Manitoulin Island. It is 8 hours away from Ottawa. It is surrounded by Lake Huron, I believe, and Huron Bay. Yeah, it's one of the largest fresh waters in the world. So I definitely grew up with a strong connection to the water, I believe. And I'm not gonna, this is a webinar about water walks, but she did survive Spanish residential school. If you don't know what residential schools are, it's basically the dark history of Canada where they took away our children. There's a lot of historical intergenerational trauma that's still affected. My parents, not my parents, my grandparents went to Spanish residential school. So there's definitely still a lot of intergenerational trauma with me, but there's also a lot of resources if you want to continue learning about residential schools because it's important. And I think tonight there's a live screening of Indian Horse, which a lot of community members from Wiki were in there. So I'll send you the post later, Gabby. Anyways, it just shows basically how awesome this woman, Josephine, is. So in 2003, Jo founded Mother Earth Water Walkers. She wanted to bring awareness about water issues, and the movement started due to the pollution of the lakes and rivers. An elder from the Three Fires Midewin, that's my tribe, Three Fires tribe. I'm wearing their color, the fire colors on the shirt my uncle made me. but he basically warned her that water will cost much as gold by 2030. That's 10 years from now. So in 2003, she didn't waste any time. She got her pail of water and some running shoes, and she decided to walk 1,700 kilometers along the Great Lakes to inform the public of the threats facing to fresh water and how it connected to our lives. There's a picture of her on the screen. She was born 21st of February 1942. She did pass away onto the spirit world February 22nd, 2019, which is why I held the Painting Pails workshop in honor of her memory. I put a little drink guide there. It's an app that alerts you to drinking water advice in community all across Canada. What really started me getting interesting about water is hearing all of these boiling water advisories. And in the book, the water walker, the elder kind of asks her, well, the community is like, what are you going to do about it? All the water that's going to cost as much as gold in 2030. So this is what I'm doing about it. And you guys showing up is what you're doing about it. And we're going to continue going to do stuff about it. And yeah, so you can go on the next one. Thanks. So, oh yeah, on this one, it says 2003, 2008. It's actually for 7 years, 2009. Joe walked around all 5 Great Lakes. If you guys know what those are, it's Lake Superior, Huron, Michigan, Ontario, and Erie. And I think it's also St. Lawrence River that I didn't add on. But basically, she walked around these for 7 years, every year, to remind people of the importance of water and the responsibility to rekindle the sacred relationship with water by caring and praying it for with each step. Unfortunately, though, walking all this still wasn't enough for Jo. Everyone around her still wasn't being urgent about, this wasn't being really urgent about how we need to start taking the steps to protect our water. So in 2011, Health Canada study founded 122 First Nation communities were under water advisories. And this kind of inspired a larger water walk by collecting water from the oceans. So that's Pacific, Atlantic. She went to the Gulf of Mexico and she brought them all to Lake Superior. I believe now there's still 50 First Nation communities in water advisories just in Ontario still. So we got to get on that. But yeah, she brought all these waters from different sides of the 4 oceans and kind of connected them all together. The four directions from the waters and the 4 bodies of water was walked to the Bad River, Wisconsin, and mixed with Lake Superior on the 12th of June, 2011. And in the Water Walker book, she kind of mentions how it's a very tearful moment because all the waters were all brought together, but they're all going to be carried up into clouds and carried back home, which I think was really beautiful, the water cycle. And there is a link. There's a link in the chat group for my link tree, which you guys can go to, because I did not reference these properly. But this one's a really important one. Mr. C shares ease. He's a junior water walker teacher. He has a blog, but he made this really cool interactive Google website called Blue Gold, and it basically, like, do this on your own time if you're really interested, but it basically shows how far she walked during the Great Lakes, and it's so crazy. She went through so many shoes. She went up through a couple of knees, and yeah. So you can go to the next slide. Please look into that though. It's really fun and interesting. All right, so just a little description of how her walks usually goes. Each of her walks begins in the spring, so around this time, with a ceremony, a feast, and a celebration led by a grandmother. It's led by women fulfilling their role to engage people of the spiritual and cultural significance of water. They take turns of carrying a vessel of water and an eagle staff. They walked over thousands of kilometers to raise awareness about water and change perception of water as a resource, but as a sacred entity to be treated as such, as I said earlier. Okay, she retired in 2006, but graduated as an Anishinaabe teacher. That is in Thunder Bay. I have a lot of family who are taking that same course. She graduated in 2013 as a teacher. She received numerous awards. I could have a whole PowerPoint just on that, but she got a lot of recognition as a water protector before she died last year at the age of 77. You can learn more about her journey. There is a documentary made in 2012 about the water journey. I think you have to buy it. If somebody knows a free link, please tell me. I have the Water Walker book, but I have a lot of links about water, but I found the best one that does describe her is free on YouTube. Jeff Baer, Samakwan Water Stories. They're people from they're cousins from the West, so they're not our east side here, but still good information. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, you don't have to click on that. That's where I got most of my information. It's a blog if you want to hear more to each of her walks. Really fun. You can just go on to the next slide. Yeah. So Autumn Peltier. For those who don't know who she is also from Eshkawkogan. Autumn is an internationally recognized advocate for clean water. She's inspired to kindle her great aunt Josephine's legacy. Yes, she's related to Aunt Josephine. So at 8 years old, Autumn, she attended a ceremony at Serpent River, and that's where she saw like a warning sign against drinking water. As I said, she's from my community, Eshkawkogan, Beaver of the Bay, that's surrounded by the largest freshwater, and kind of interesting that it's the largest freshwater, but we can't drink out of it. And I was always told after going swimming, I had to take a shower like immediately. The boards like swimmer's itch and stuff. So yeah, so it definitely hit home for me and her when you realize that other communities grew up without water. I know there's some communities that have gone without drinking water for 25 years, and that's my age. So yeah, Autumn's doing just what I'm doing now. She started speaking at community events and at her school. It wasn't until 12 years old, which I think she's mostly known for, is that she was invited to an Assembly of First Nations meeting to present Justin Trudeau with the ceremonial copper bowl, but she tearfully handed over, saying, "I am very unhappy with the choices you made." And he promised that he would protect the water, and she's trying to make sure he keeps up to his promise. You can go to the next one, please. Yeah, she was born September 27, 2004. So there's a few things. I think that's what Autumn's mostly known for. So I didn't know about all the great work that she actually does. On the 5th of December 2016, Autumn was issued a call to action to basically shut down all the highways across the country for 1 whole hour to basically bring awareness to the water protections. A month later, she stood on the highway in Espanola, which is an hour outside my reserve, in an act of solidarity for water and protest for Standing Rock. Before all this, though, I thought it was good to mention that in 2015, she did take part in a cultural camp to focus on teaching youth to live off the land, which is awesome. And that's where she basically started to get recognized and was invited to the Children's Conference, Climate Conference in Sweden. And she got then again invited to attend the UN Climate Change Conference in Paris. Over there's a picture of Stephanie Peltier. She's what I like to call a momager. She kind of manages her schedule. Autumn is still under 18. But yeah, all these pictures are from her Instagram, by the way. You can go on to the next one. Yeah, she's really cool. Her Instagram's the title up there at autumn.peltier. She's pretty awesome. In April 2019, she became Chief Water Commissioner. So just last year, if you guys aren't shedding tears right now, I have a ton of new recognition. I cried when I heard that. Because that was a position previously held by her great aunt. So it's pretty awesome. Autumn received many awards, like the Ottawa River Keeping Awards in 2018. And she's like always nominated for International Children's Peace Prize, honestly. What she's been up to lately, just in January, Greta got to meet Autumn. And she pretty much got to talk about her dismay and their inaction at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland. So yeah, she's a really amazing people, my role models, and that's pretty much who they are. So I'm just going to talk a little about the purpose of pails. So just a little quote first. Everyone has a responsibility to care for the water. Women, however, carry the responsibility to talk for the water. So that's why I'm here today. As women, we have a responsibility to keep a good relationship with water, as we both create life. We're both life givers. The first stage of life begins within our mother's womb, as we know, like a water carrier. We are protected before we are born of flow, like when our water breaks. Um, Water songs usually relate to movement. I know there's some songs where you have to like turn east. Um, yeah, the water drum is the first sound you will hear in the room. It's supposed to represent the first sound you hear in the room, your mom's heartbeat. Water carriers must always keep the vessel moving until it's reached its destinations back to the sources. Because water doesn't stop flowing, right? It's constantly moving. Even when it's ice, the particles are still like moving very slowly. And yeah, that was informative. So normally, traditionally, we use copper pails. We've always known that you can collect copper from the water. But yeah, women are gifted the medicine of water, and we are responsible for protecting it. We bless it before a walk or a water ceremony. As well, it's important to maintain that special bond to water and keeping mother's lifeblood clean. Basically, the best way I could describe this is that mothers breastfeeding, we're kind of like, when mothers are breastfeeding, they're obviously like nurturing and having that own bond with the baby. So we kind of gotta keep that same relationship and respect need dear water. There's an example is full moon ceremonies. I know there's some people who use water to kind of bless that. What else? So copper pails are given to women to work with, and they represent Mother Earth, and it comes from the land, as well as copper vessels clean, heal, and amplify our prayers to and for the water. It's an ancient metal with distinct and powerful conductive properties. Keep water clean by placing water in copper. It will stay that cleanliness level to be returned at the end of the walk. I know there's also like studies, I forget the scientists, but when you start like talking and singing to the water, it actually does alter and change the particles of it. So it does healing. Um, yeah, we use full moon ceremonies. I just want to say that the moon governs the sky. Everything goes in a circle for us, right? And the moon obviously alters tides and women's natural flow. So just keep in mind, everything's like all connected to us, land, earth, and sky, and water. Yeah, so Indigenous women usually carry the pails or two spirit if you identify like that. For the men, though, they do not carry the pail. They don't walk in front of the women, they walk beside her. So the staff is the responsibility of the men to carry. That artwork there is again done by Christy Belcourt. Each eagle staff carry has a meaning of why they carry it. Each staff is dressed differently, like colors, clan, or different eagle feathers, pretty much to represent their community or where they're from. Some are taken to big gatherings, while others are family eagle staffs or work-related staffs. There's school ones. Everyone has their own. I think the RCMP even were given their own. Staffs are alive. They have their own spirit as well and are designated to a person that has the right to care for them. So they can't just, I know there was a lot of controversy when the RCMP were given their eagle staff because they weren't sure if that someone was actually going to be able to properly care for it. I'm sorry, I can't remember. One of my cousins sent me the picture of the eagle staff gathering, but I can't remember which community it was from. I'm sure it was somewhere near my reserve though in Ontario. But yeah, that's what eagle staffs are and pails are. I just want to talk a little about the medicine wheel for my non-Indigenous friends that might know that the medicine wheel is kind of like Christians have cross, we got the medicine wheel. There's different versions of it. You're gonna see many of them. This is how I was taught mine. Basically, cedar is really good for your immune system, preventative medicine. It's really good right now. think everyone's using that because it's such filled with vitamin C for tea. But yeah, it sits at the northern door for mental health. Cedar crackles when it's burned. Its voice calls attention to our ancestors. It's restorative, used for fasting and consumed, bathed in, lies on the floor, crackles in fire. It's basically used to reach out and connect the creator and spirit world. Its job is to help us be heard and comforted. And sweetgrass, I've definitely been burning a lot of that these days. It sits at the southern door. It's for emotions. And I have sweetgrass, I do. So some sweetgrass. There's 21 strands. It's used to make a braid. It's the first generation. The first 7 of the strands is for the first generation before us, that as we hold their knowledge. The second is for the 7 grandfather teachings. We can discuss that in a second. But the last is for the 7 generations in front of us. So as Indigenous people, we're taught to believe that we're just borrowing the earth from the kids before us. And our ancestors did the same. They took care of it before us so we could enjoy it now. And we need to do the same to care it for the next 7 generations. 7 grandfather teachings, just kind of like how to live a good life. And yeah, oh, that's okay. So tobacco, these are definitely 2 that they're all definitely important. These are 2 that I definitely always regularly use. Tobacco, it says in the East, it's for spiritual. It's our first plant the Creator gave us, beginning of every ceremony and song, prayer, story, and told and promise made. If I could see you guys, I would definitely give tobacco to Gabby and Josh today, but I'll definitely lay some down for you. The smoke is a direct link to communicate with tobacco to the Creator and sky world. It's used for when seeking knowledge, forgiveness, or help from an elder. Sage sits in the west. It's for physical. It's a woman's medicine. It's used for cleaning and used for entering a lodge or ceremony. It's to be used for when feeling anxious, trouble making decisions, or have shared space that feels unsafe, which is really good and important right now, I think. Smoke will rise to Creator with your worries and good intentions. Yay! So if you guys ever go to a water walk, definitely have some tobacco on hand. Traditionally, the woman would have smudged the bowl before she even touches it and prays for the water. So originally we were trying to plan a water walk. We're still hoping to when it's safe for us. But for now, if you guys ever get the opportunity to attend one, I think it's good and noteworthy that you be aware of the time and date. Most of them usually happen in the morning. The location and length of the walk, obviously, they're just not going to be, you don't want to go to one that's like where you start at 5 a.m. and like you're done at like sunset. So just try and be aware of like what your physical ability is. No plastic, no drugs or alcohol, carry a usable water bottle. Women or two-spirit, they wear skirts. I am wearing a ribbon skirt today, and it has pockets. Yeah. Yeah, as I said, offer tobacco and smudge the pails of water before they are touched. Dress for the weather and wear a good pair of running shoes. Whew, that was a lot of talking. But yeah, I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say. Hope you're paying attention. There's a quiz.